We're going to call the meeting to order. It's open for any guests, none in the audience at this moment. Approval of CPC minutes of the public hearing, June 13th, 2019.
Motion to approve the minutes from
June 13th,
June 13,
2019.
2019.
There's
As
a
drafted.
motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
have discussion items. You didn't, I had some comments.
We'll
Can-
just go back from the vote.
Okay, we'll
So-
hold off. Go ahead.
So you can move to reconsider the vote.
Okay, I move to reconsider the vote.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion.
Sorry,
You've
I
got the
should
floor.
have piped up sooner.
You've got a floor, yep.
Got to be quick around here, I guess. Okay, I was going to point out a minor typo, and
Yes.
then but now I have to find it. Okay, let's go to the second thing, forget that, which is, sorry, which is the discussion of the website business, which is at the end. I just wanted to correct one thing there, which is in the paragraph that starts with when looking at the town CPC webpage. Down there, it would require a separate domain name that carries an annual fee, also needed as a third-party hosting platform with an estimated cost of $100 to $200 a year. Those are the same thing, it's not two separate expenses.
The domain name and the hosting platform are the same?
That's in that $100 to $200, yes.
Okay.
It's not like a,
The hosting isn't the same as, I'm gonna kill something in these two sentences. I'm gonna remove or reword or something.
I would say, just put it into one sentence, would require a separate domain name and third-party hosting platform with an estimated cost of $100 to $200 per year, period.
That's
Um,
done.
and
So
now-
I'll change that and then I'll send it out to everybody, the
Okay.
corrected form, but I'll,
He's got one more he's
Yeah.
trying. That's why paper's nice, John, you can highlight it.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I'm gonna be getting that every time, aren't I?
that's okay.
Yeah, well, it was a minor item, and I should have highlighted it, and I didn't, so.
Is it with the web material?
No, it's way up front. It's way up front, so it's, it's a missing article or something in a sentence, it's not.
The friendly
Okay.
40Bs, which I have no idea what they are, but sometimes when things are said, it's like everybody else knows, but I don't, so I will
Well, can
try to wing it.
we vote on the amended motion? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Motion to approve the amended minutes from CPC meeting for June 13th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's done. Okay, June 13th, 2019, public meeting, public hearing recap. Comments from the board. Bob?
Nothing.
Chris?
Yeah, I was reasonably pleased with the turnout, notwithstanding that there were mostly people here who are probably gonna turn up again in the application part. It was, somewhat interesting to get kind of a preview of some of the things they have in mind. And thinking back to last year, when I had just started, I think that was my first or second meeting, I don't think anybody came. Maybe one person came. So I thought it was all things considered, not a bad turnout. So it was interesting. I found the evening interesting.
John?
Yeah, I don't have any real comments. I mean, I agree with Chris, but I guess there's a question. If the turnout was better this year, anybody have any thoughts about why? Is it because we did it earlier?
I think that was part of it. I think personally think we publicized it more. I think your flyers did, also called attention to CPC more than we would normally see. I think it helped.
Yeah, I would
Anyone
agree.
else?
I don't have anything else.
Chris?
Nope.
Mary?
So I have to agree with Chris. I thought it was nice to have a somewhat better turnout. There were some people that showed up that I wasn't expecting to show up. And I think the town administrator came and gave his, gave us the overview on the things that are on his kind of radar screen. I think it may be still a little too early for some of the other department heads to have their ideas. I know my first year, I'll say, was very different than your first year, because my first year, we had 16 or 18 applications,
18, and
and we must have had 10 department heads here.
we approved
Speaking
16. yeah.
Right, speaking on all of their applications. So it was very much geared, because it was so much closer to the application process, it was really more geared towards their applications as opposed to kind of the general overview of what we think we need to spend our money on. And it was strange for me last year to go from having the room full to having none. So I was glad to have a few more this time.
Can I have one of those pamphlets real quick? Anything else, Mary?
No, thank you.
I think this pamphlet that the CPC put together and had for town meeting was outstanding. I think this made a big difference with folks when they were asking questions on town meeting floor. I'd like to ask the board, is there any other things that we can come up with as concepts that would equal this or better what we have here as far as communication with the general public's concerned? Any ideas? Not necessarily tonight, but as we go forward, if you have some ideas to come up for any kind of communications, go ahead, Bob.
Did we do the Channel 18 thing?
Yeah.
You did that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I think that, I have no idea what the viewership was or is on that.
I watched.
I suppose you can get the view count off YouTube, so I haven't done that yet. But I think that's worthwhile, regardless of who does it. Somebody should do it. I think it's a worthwhile exercise.
Absolutely.
15 minutes, and my sense is that, people turn those videos on and watch them while they're eating breakfast or stuff like that. So
Right.
I think that's something we should definitely continue to do.
Is that something that we could do a couple times a year?
I suspect so, if we wanted to.
You know,
I think I don't know how full of content they are, but, it seems like they probably would have room for content.
Just
I
using
think
this
if
as a baseline and then,
I think if you did it a couple times a year, it would be smart to revolve it around something. So, for example, this might not be a good example, but, after the application period closes, you could, go back on and talk about, how that process went and some of the things that might have occurred.
after town meeting, a month before, a couple of weeks before, the application closes,
Yeah,
You could also
something to
do,
the,
you could also do one leading up to the public hearing as well.
well, yeah, that's what I,
So, I mean, one geared towards, like what you did for the specific articles on, like, heading into town meeting.
yeah.
And then you could also have kind of a
Post.
bookend to that,
yeah.
to say, looking forward to next year, ideas are welcome at the public hearing, and do kind of,
Yeah, I think that thing that the League of Women Voters, or whoever it is who runs
Voter
that,
information
that
committee.
information thing, that I did this year, but I think others have done it in the past, I think that's, I mean, that had a decent turnout. And my sense is that there's probably people who watch that, you know, watch the recording of that, or watch it live if it's live, because it's good lead up to the town meeting and the warrants that will be voted on there. And there's a lot of good information in a somewhat informal setting that gets shared there. So I think we should absolutely make sure we have somebody at that every year as well.
Is there any way to bookmark that on the CPC website?
Well.
As a reminder,
just
not only to myself or others,
Bookmark which? What do you mean?
that what Chris just stated, that the League of Women Voters gets together, puts their dossier together, and then we just have a
Everybody,
position.
everybody who has warrants comes in, describes the warrants that are gonna be voted on. Most of them, of course, are town, government.
As a
influenced.
reminder to this board and to others.
There are a lot of different things you could do. One thing that would be very easy to do, which isn't quite addressing what you're asking, is to put a link to the YouTube video of Chris or whatever other things happen right on the CPC website, so that people can look at that. Another, I mean, we can put all kinds of content on the existing web page, and if it's a link, maybe a link to League of Women Voters event, if there's a video of the event, or if they're issuing a document with sections for each of the articles at town meeting, we could somehow include that in the webpage. A link to the whole document would be one possibility. Another would be just cribbing the articles that have to do with CPC and putting them in a document that's linked to on the webpage. And maybe there are other ideas, but all of those are perfectly feasible without changing much of anything about the web service. You can do that on there.
So, on the CPC webpage, you can upload documents. So like we upload the full warrant on the town clerk's webpage.
Right.
So we can upload those articles. You can also do news flashes or bulletin items to call attention to things that are upcoming.
That's what I'm driving at.
So like, for example,
I'm not trying to complicate the process, but I want it so it's available for folks when they're having their evening dinner or having their breakfast in the morning, if they just click on it and they're looking at the League of Women Voters, here it is. Here's an update to what CPC is doing.
so you can have, so like you can do a news flash that says, so we uploaded the official election results. So you can do a news flash for that, that'll populate at the top of your kind of the 2/3 portion of your webpage, and then you can leave it up for X period of time. You know, you could do a news flash to say, voter information committee, event upcoming on, you know, whatever the date is, and do those, and then also upload the documents into different sections. So there are all sorts of things like that we can do.
So another thing that's possible with the hosting software the town uses, I'm not sure whether it's enabled by the town, but we could look into that, is to allow people to create an account on the town website and then subscribe to certain events, subscribe to news feeds. So if someone's interested in CPC, we can send bulletins that the subscribers will receive on their emails, like reminders of a public meeting or things of that sort.
I'm not sure whether we can do that or not,
Good
but
idea.
it's a good question to ask.
Other
right?
towns' websites
Right.
who use the same hosting
Right.
platform do that.
So we probably have it.
There's a
sort-
way, it's,
Yeah. Yeah,
Good idea.
that's a great idea. Then it gives them the personal notice.
I'm gonna need a reminder of this, and I also have to research what your talking points. Go ahead. Yeah,
Somebody
You
do a
wave your
somersault
arms.
across.
I tried that once.
I know you kind of,
Secret code, though.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Just, there's a button under your desk.
Can we bring that back for our next discussion? And then I'd like to speak to you too about this, so you can educate me. So,
Okay.
Chris,
The other thing we talked about, which I think I volunteered to do, and I haven't done yet, but there's time, is to try to get in front of the Harwich Chatham newcomers in the fall.
that's right.
And, or it doesn't even actually have to be in the fall, I suppose, but sometime, relatively early in the year, when they come back to their general meetings, try to grab a little time in front of them to blurb it out. It's probably a 50-50 chance we'll be able to do that, I would think.
Okay, that's,
So I will
idea.
follow.
that's a real good thought, yep. Anybody else?
Well,
You've got a lot of education to do.
well,
I hope you were a
just
professor at
generally-
one point.
Well, I was actually, but just a following agenda item is about websites, and I think just generally web presence is an important thing for what you're talking about. So, and we already talked a little bit about this, but
Okay. All right. Moving on. Organization, Community Preservation Committee. I'm not sure if we should hold that until the end of this. Can we hold, is it all right with the board if we hold B till we get through C?
oh,
Fine with
Okay.
me.
No problem. Let's go to the vote to rescind the open balance, $176. Article on year 2018, Article 50, Records Management Project in the Town Hall basement. So, can we have a vote on that? Is there a motion? Chris,
I'll take a shot. I make a motion to rescind the $176 that is outstanding,
in of the 2018 Article 50,
Article 50.
and the money be returned to the appropriate pot.
Pot, right. Yeah, I make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Who said that?
Bob? Go ahead,
so what, I only have questions.
go ahead,
It's,
ask. That's
right.
what the discussion's for.
Why is there an open balance in like 10 words or less?
It's just money that hasn't been used.
So there's no controversy here, that's just they completed the project and left $176. That's
right.
all there is to it.
It wouldn't matter if there's a controversy or not. This is our job, to look at the accounts, see
Yeah.
what they've used.
I get it, I just need a little background, so I knew what I was voting on, that's all.
Okay. Bob,
No, I'm
Anything.
fine.
Mary,
Nothing for me.
Chris, you all set?
All set?
All right, so it's been motioned and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
The next one is an open balance of $38,656.49 from the 2012 Article Number 41, Brooks Free Library, Phase 1 Restoration, Preservation, Historic Brooks Building Project. That's a mouthful.
So,
Is there a motion?
Can,
We'll get to that in discussion. Is there a
make a
motion?
motion?
No,
Okay. So I would make the move to rescind the open balance of $38,856.
656.49.
and 49 cents from Article 2012, Article number
41.
41, Brooks Free Library, Phase 1 Restoration and Preservation of Historic Brooks Building Project, and for the funds to be returned to the historic bucket for CPC funds.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion.
okay.
Robert?
So some of these, and I'm not sure if this was one of them, have two sources of money. It could be from the historic, and then it can be split to general. Is that correct?
That's not what this reads.
No. He's talking something different.
He's talking about when we funded it, and he's right, actually.
Right.
So-
This doesn't say which bucket it went, it goes
Okay.
back
So it could
to.
have been partially funded from historic and partially funded from
Do we have,
general.
I don't have Article 41 in front of me.
I think the key, I mean, to me, all you do is at the same ratio as it was funded.
Oh, that
That
works.
makes sense?
40%
Ideally.
historic, 60%, then that's how it's returned.
That's
So
fine.
I'll rescind my motion.
No, you can, sorry.
I
Yep.
messed it up
Nope.
so badly in the
Nope.
first time, I think it's easier to rescind it and redo. So I make a motion to.
Chris, pull your second. He seconded it, so he's got to pull
Oh,
a
no,
second.
I,
You okay with-
did you say it?
I rescind my second to Mary's motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I move to rescind. Respective buckets in the same.
Ratio they were funded from?
They were, from which they were originally funded.
Thank you.
Good get.
Yeah, true.
All right, we have a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Is there a second?
There was a second,
Okay.
Chris.
Bob did.
Oh, Bob,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
Aye.
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 Okay, and the final one.
Oh, that was the other article.
I'm going to give her a chance to catch up.
Yep. You good?
And then I insert that, then this,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, the final open balance of $59,357 from the 2018 Article 51 Brooks Free Library Restoration Project.
So is this another?
I don't recall if this had the same issue.
It doesn't hurt to
Okay.
put it in the motion, does it?
David, were you looking at something, or are you ready for a motion?
Before you,
It might be in these spreadsheets.
that's, well,
No.
the reason I'm hesitant, because I was looking at an amount that was far more than that.
I talked with Carol, we didn't talk about buckets.
Well, this, all right, Brooks, March 14th, 2019, meeting minutes reports, Brooks Free Library, exterior library projects. 2012, Article 41, 2016, Article 39, 2018, Article 51, totaling $879,000. $98,013.49 to be rescinded. Note,
Lost me.
$8,747 committed to work to be done in the warmer weather, and this is not included in the rescinded amount,
David,
but still remain in the account.
I think the 98 is the sum of items 2 and 3.
So they added them up.
Yeah,
Right, I
and here
think,
we have them split out.
All right, I'm just going by the email I have,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
and 2016 isn't referenced, so presumably there's no money left in 2016.
Right, on 39, but Article 51 is 59,357?
Yep, sounds right.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Hold on. This is how she summed it up with those articles.
Yeah, this is completely, well, the bottom line is,
And she says it here too, in the first page
No,
of her report.
right, well, I've got something different.
Okay.
And but the bottom line is the number is correct. It's just a different manner. It broke it down into different categories. Welcome to Munis, folks. All right, we're fine. The number is correct.
So I'd move to rescind the open balance of $59,357,000 from the 2018 Article 51 Brooks Free Library Restoration Project, and ask that the open balance funds be returned to the respective buckets in the same ratio from which they were originally funded.
Is there a second?
I think Mary said one, you said $59,357,000.
$59,357.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
good catch.
I second.
Discussion. Go ahead,
No.
ask.
No, I don't. I got nothing.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a motion. Okay, reorganization of the committee. So, that's up to you folks.
I move to appoint David Nixon as the chair for CPC for fiscal 2020.
There's a
Second.
motion on the floor.
I second it, or do you
Discussion.
move?
Move to close nominations.
She's really gonna torture me on this one. Okay. Chris?
Was that an open item? I didn't realize that was an open item, that we had to,
We have to reorganize
Every year.
annually.
every year at this time of the
Every
year.
year.
Yes.
Okay,
It doesn't change anybody's status on the board. All it does is change this, the chair and the vice chair status.
okay, got it.
So, now, where are we, parliamentarian?
You need a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, vice chair. Well, if no one's gonna make a nomination, I nominate Mary as vice chair.
I second.
Thanks for laughing, Bob. I appreciate it.
I was about to, but I have to live with you on other committees.
Thanks, Bob.
Dangerous living, is it, these days? All right, discussion.
I
Got it.
second. Okay.
If nobody else would like it, I will happily assist in that way. But if somebody else would like it, I'll leave it open.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's done. Okay, that takes care of the organization. Old business, follow up on the website. John?
Okay, so, I did talked to Foster and Caleb. I got credentials to log on the website and edit the web page. As I was saying earlier, I went in thinking that I had been asked to update the member list, and went in and looked at it and decided I didn't completely understand what was going on there, and I needed to talk to Caleb, so I called Caleb, and Caleb said, don't bother because I'm in the middle of it right now, which was fine.
Yes.
Fine with me. And the other thing that was sort of talked about last time was making some changes to the front page, but Jamie had already changed the format as we were talking in the meeting last time, so that was done as well. So I didn't actually make any changes, but I did get log-on credentials, went and poked around and saw how to edit things and what the available options are, at least, you know, first cut at the options and first cut at understanding how the whole thing works and getting some documentation from Civic Plus about how to deal with it. So we're there. The other thing I did, which was our homework assignment, I guess, was go and look at a bunch of the surrounding websites, and if you like, I can talk about what I found as well, or if you want to wait, I'll wait for that.
Let's open it to the board first. So, Mary, any,
So I liked the listserv idea that you had from earlier. I think that's a great idea. And
Listserv?
the listserv,
Sorry.
that's okay.
No, I didn't hear that right.
No, that's okay. Because I think that's another great way to kind of start using what we're doing.
Or you could get a Twitter account and just tweet stuff out.
Makes me nervous.
we're not going there.
Good idea.
Sorry.
Because what I personally would think would be great, I know you have been a big proponent of having the applications online and kind of being paperless. I do think it would be a good idea, if it's possible, for us to, when they come in, if they're not electronically filed, to be able to upload them as documents so that the public can see them and have some record of them. It was one of the things on a year and a half ago when I looked at the dentist website that I liked. They had all their applications and they had their approved ones there, so that, 5 years from now, you could click back in and see, oh, look, this is what they proposed and this is what they approved. And, speaking on the historic side, with the funds that were rescinded the last time for us, that was an issue, was trying to track down that original, application from so many years ago. So I think that would be a nice addition to be able to start doing that, if not, being able to do it in the past.
Bob?
I think it should be a standard agenda meeting that we should have something every meeting to say, what should we post on the webpage this month?
Okay, that's excellent idea.
Good idea.
Chris?
Yeah, I looked through the website, the CPC part of the website. It doesn't take very long to do that. I compared it only to Chatham's. I thought that ours was a bit more substantial and informative than Chatham's. Chatham's follows a pretty close, Chatham follows the outline of ours pretty closely as far as I could tell. Right or wrong, I suspect that the usage is light. That there aren't a lot of people looking at the info. And so I didn't want to burn lots and lots of cycles on this. I thought that it read fine. The members had been updated, or at least I thought they had been. They weren't quite updated, but it looked like they were being changed. I think the basic format of the page is fine. I had three really kind of simple comments. One, as far as I could tell, the only calendar month that was filled out for CPC affairs and events was July. And I would just suggest that we plug all of our meetings in for a rolling 12 months, and we put, deadline in there for the application process and stuff like that, because when I accessed the calendar, none of the future months had anything in them. So I would say let's flesh out the calendar more. Two, unlike the Chatham site, and I suspect some of the others, I didn't find a lot of contact info on our site. Phone, email, that stuff. The website shown at the bottom of the page is the town website. So I thought putting some contact info in, David's home number, David's personal email, whatever we want to.
License plate number.
Yeah, exactly, photo. So, yeah, I think some basic contact information would be good. And then the last comment I had was, there are obviously links there. You can click and get to our stuff in the top left corner. There's like 3 things up there that you can click on and get to. I just can't remember exactly what they are. I'm not sure that for a lot of people, those really pop as links. I mean, the average person would know you can click on that stuff and go to it, but if there's a way to make those look more like a traditional link, I think that would be worth doing too, just so people know they can click on stuff and find stuff. And I think the suggestion Bob just made is a really good one. If you're looking for content, one way to drive it is to force the process, and so I think that's a good one too. So those are really my comments. Beyond the Chatham site, honestly, I didn't go any further because I'm cognizant of the fact that I think anything, regardless of what we do, the readership is going to continue to be fairly light. And so, again, I'm, burning a lot of cycles over it is not high on my list.
I accessed, actually today for something I was doing, I accessed the Yarmouth website, and I had a very difficult time burrowing down to where I needed to go.
For CPC in particular?
For CPC in particular. All their content seems to be directed at, they have a full-time indoor person, in-house person, that works with CPC and works for the town. And most of the information is directed towards that particular individual. I just found it interesting. We have a context on our website, and it's cpc@townofharwich.gov.us, where all our information should go. Anything coming in, any emails, faxes, whatever, should go to that email, so that anybody else that goes through the town server, we have access to it, any board member has access to it, and it's not on anybody's personal link with any personal information. So, that's just my feeling about it. Mary?
And the thing to keep in mind is that webpage and all of the content on it are public records and have to be saved just like any other town record or email or anything else. So
Right.
Anytime we put anything more on it, it's,
Do any of us want to take any action on this tonight,
On which?
on what we're discussing? As far as the calendar is concerned, Bob's recommendation?
I do want to ask another question.
Go ahead.
Do we have cross-links on our agenda and minutes from our webpage to the town? Where the consolidated, where they all are by committee? And is that too hard to keep, or?
so
I can't answer that
I
question.
didn't understand it, so I'm gonna ask you to repeat it.
There
So
are
you're,
links.
so when you
Cross
upload the
links.
minutes, and the agendas, they show up on the CPC webpage.
Right.
Yeah.
I suspect there's, just knowing how it works, you go up to agendas, there's an agenda and minutes archive, and then and then you can click, and if you click
Oh.
down to CPC, I think those all,
Oh, I know.
Right,
and
okay.
I'm just saying that, should we have a link directly to it, so you don't have to go up
Yes,
at the top and go
So
down.
more like what the
It's-
selectmen's do, like the selectmen have their
right there.
Oh,
archives.
is
That's
it, is that, okay, it's already
Agendas
there.
and minutes, you could just go
Is that
right
the,
on the
and it goes
page.
right back to the,
You get the document immediately.
that's our site?
That is.
Okay.
It is now.
That is.
And it's the current one?
Well, this is the May, I just clicked it a little randomly there.
Bob, I think they made some changes to it recently. It
This
looks
is the
different to
May,
me.
so the June minutes aren't up there, but our agenda for tonight is
Is-
up
Oh,
there.
okay, that's great.
So
Okay,
they've-
so
I
they've
guess it
already-
doesn't go
Yep,
up
that's
until we
been
vote to
accomplished.
approve the minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So
Right.
now that we've approved the minutes, the
That'll be
June
up.
minutes will go up there,
Yeah.
right? So you submit them, how, what are the actual logistics there?
I submit it.
So you send a
So,
document
right, there's
to,
I send an email for the agenda, that goes to a separate, email for the town, and then the minutes, they go to minutes at.
so that's all a very well-established, no-brainer kind of, process.
But
You
then
ju-
those also get saved in hard copy as well.
As they're supposed to,
Right.
right? So that's all taken
We
care
save a
of.
copy, and Anita takes them from what I send the town. I don't hand deliver a hard copy
Right.
to Anita.
She makes a hard copy and it goes into a file, into the,
We use
We have them in
records.
binders.
yeah, right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So what's left at this point is the calendar.
so,
And perhaps Bob's suggestion of something to post this month.
so I'll volunteer to take on updating the calendar.
You've got it, my friend.
Which calendar are you referring to?
There's a calendar right on the page. At the top, up above where the agendas is, there's a calendar. And it's a stock part of the format there. I think all the
Chris, would
committees
you be
probably have
willing
that.
to
Only thing I
just
know
interject
is
with
that
John
when
at
we-
any point in
when I
time?
wanted to advertise like a
Sure.
public hearing and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
unless Anita has an agenda, nothing goes on the calendar. That's what she has told me, right?
I think
Well,
that's how
then-
it works.
So
I think-
nothing in the future can be on that calendar. That's
Well,
why I
if you
wasn't sure when you
publish-
said the
Well,
calendar.
explain that so we
need
all
an
understand it.
agenda to
For
be on
anything
the
to go on
town
that.
calendar.
So, and I think that is correct. I think that calendar is set up that way so that it's populated from the automatic
Magic, I mean, from.
list.
May-
So like our next meeting isn't on that calendar.
Yeah, which is a little crazy in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
I
It's
don't
on-
know if there's a
yeah.
way, I don't know if there's a way to manage that differently, or if there's, I mean, in the alternative, if that's something we can't update that calendar,
Is that
in the
illegal?
way you suggested, maybe we have a list of upcoming dates,
Well,
Exactly.
and it's a list of upcoming dates that says, July 13th meeting, July,
Right.
August, whatever meeting, and then you have a list.
Maybe it's changed, because we
Temporary.
did try to do that.
Is there something that's a legalese that prevents us from doing what's normal
It,
in your tablet that you do every day?
I don't know that I'm not saying that it's legalese, I don't think it's legalese, I think it is perhaps the way that the calendar on that website is set up to work with the listservs for the agendas
So-
and the
Can
dates.
we change the calendar?
So
to
it's
meet
a
our
question now, but there's I mean, there's already some information there. I mean, there's contact info, somewhat inappropriately, under the contact info bubble there, it lists when we do the meetings and where they are.
Right.
So that information is already there. It can get stuck in the main middle pane there. And so we can say, when the meeting, second Thursday of each month, where town hall. And we can also just put a notice up there in the middle for deadlines for, we can put it right there in the middle, which might just answer the question so we don't have to try to mess with
Right.
something that is just gonna cause
Chaos.
agita on
a good
somebody's
word.
part.
A lot of people don't understand what that means, I do. Chris?
No, that's fine. I think it's goofy, but it's fine. If
Goofy?
there's no way, well, if there's a calendar there, the calendar should be updated.
Yeah.
But if the
well,
calendar can't be updated, then we'll do whatever the next best thing is. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel
I don't
here.
think that calendar is specific just to CPC, I think it's specific to
Townwide.
everybody.
All right, so that
And,
one's,
and as a result, I mean, I've tried to consult the town calendar in the past to see what's going on and found nothing, so it's
And I've had the same
basically
problem.
not useful for,
Right.
not just for this, but for a lot of things, so. And that, that may be hardwired in the hosting software, or it may be an option that somebody at the town decided was the right thing to do, and they, who knows? And we could try to find out.
Maybe it's changed.
So
what I've
I'll
been
tell you what I'll do. I
The
will,
chair authorizes you,
to do whatever I'm gonna say.
whatever
I was
voodoo
gonna-
you're gonna say.
Well, Voodoo, yeah. Voodoo is talking to Foster, is that you call it? Sorry.
Easy.
I'm just, that's all I was gonna suggest, if I can put this in the right place in my notes, so I remember that's what I'm saying I'm gonna do.
Chris, go ahead.
I do think that the contact info, at least an email address should be on there somewhere. I
Well-
don't think it's there now, is it? I didn't see
Well,
it.
there's, in the contact info, all there is information
Where.
about where and when the meetings are.
Right.
So.
And be clear, you can choose to do what you choose to do, but the chair chooses to have the email address at the town of Harwich.
No, it's
Well,
fine.
that's fine,
It's
just
fine.
whatever.
So,
It's fine. I just think if somebody has a question, for example, about the application process, and they want to send CPC an email, they should be able to send it, and then, of course, somebody has to find it and read it and answer it, and whoever that is. But I think if we have an email address, that we should put it on there. And if there's a phone number, the phone number should be there as well. I thought I had heard at one of these meetings that we did have a phone number, no?
No.
Okay, all right,
No.
all right. Maybe it was the email
And
address.
is there an address, a mailing address that should be put on contact info? I mean,
Seven
again,
thirty-two Main Street, this building.
yeah,
There are-
because
there
there
are
is a
cubby
mailbox
holes
for
downstairs.
CPC downstairs.
Oh.
She's absolutely correct.
so the mailing address is,
Community Preservation Committee,
and
732 Main Street.
I should probably say Harwich Community Preservation Committee, right, for the full,
You can, I don't think you need to.
okay, all right. Main Street, Harwich, Mass. 02645,
Four,
right?
five, correct. I usually put 732 Main Street Town Hall.
Yeah.
but-
Street, Town Hall. And then will someone tell me letter for letter what the email address is?
Yeah,
I think
She
it's
has,
CPC.
we have a record of it.
hold on. And you know why I kept saying I didn't want to give you that list? Because I told you it was just problems.
List? Oh, that list.
CPC at
CPC.
Town-
town of,
Oh, Town,
yeah, it's not the dot stuff.
Town of
So town
Harwich.
of Harwich.us.
Are you sure it's not .gov.us?
I actually thought it was .gov.
I did too until right
It's
now.
just .gov?
I think it's town, because there's two
.us.
of them.
Okay, well,
And I
that's,
think
this
this
is the one we're
is the
using.
town of, I will verify and I'll make sure.
Okay.
And contact you tonight, but it's town of Harwich.us.
I'm gonna change that on
Hold
you,
on.
and I'm gonna change it
That
to
one I think it is.
.gov,
That's what I said this is,
.us,
sweetie.
because
You say-
that's my
you think it's not
access
right?
No,
to
I think
server,
I think maybe you were
and it
right.
should be on the
Okay.
chair's access.
What are you asking me?
I just changed your,
That's the email address you use when you communicate with us,
that's
right?
correct,
And so I should just use that email
that's
address.
correct, that's what I'm
So-
saying.
So just tell me,
There's two, you're right, there's two, but the one we're using for this, here on out, is .gov.us.
that is
Oh, okay.
townofharwich.gov.us.
That's correct,
Okay, all right.
so
So,
check that off.
so do you also want me to add text into the main narrative there in the middle of the page? And take the meeting schedule information that's now under contact, put it into the main, somewhere in the main narrative, probably up front, like the first thing is when the
Cities.
meetings are.
Yeah,
And then an announcement about deadline for applications.
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's a
sure.
great idea.
And so, wait a
So if
minute.
it's the second Tuesday of the month, and then when it comes to October, we can deal with all of our plethora of meetings, then all bets are off, right?
Because you could change it at will.
Right.
Right.
What's that? I didn't understand that comment.
I said, once we get to application time, we can change it or add, or talk about the special
We can
meetings
put
or whatever.
notice, yeah,
Right, exactly,
So-
exactly.
So then, add schedule, main narrative, and add, app, deadline, announcement, which is August 1st, right?
That's correct.
No. Okay.
It's October
You guys are
1st.
fine.
October
Okay,
1st.
sorry.
I'm sorry, okay.
Are you set?
I have more comments to make.
Can we?
When you're
ma-
ready,
can-
whenever you're ready.
I wanted to make this a fast meeting tonight. Can we hold our comments until?
How about you give me 1 minute? to
Go
make
ahead.
a couple of
Have at it.
comments? One, I just want to say that, Chatham has on its website a completely online application form, which is some third-party software, but it's provided by the same vendor that does our GIS mapping software. It's mapsonline.net or something. They also have this application for online application forms. So I'm going to continue to look into that,
Okay.
pursuing my personal goal of finding a convenient way to do complete online applications. And otherwise, Chatham website is the same hosting software and everything that we use, so anyway, maybe that's the only
And see
thing.
what the attic expense is.
Yeah, well, that's definitely part of the question. But I'll just leave it at that. I looked at a bunch of the websites, and there's a lot of information on all of them. And most of them use the same hosting software Harwich does, with one exception among the ones I looked at, which is Brewster, and I don't know who their hosting software is, but they do something different. But I would say most of them have more information on there than we do in various different ways and formats, with the exception of Yarmouth, which doesn't seem to have a whole lot of. Chatham is pretty slim as well. Okay, did I go over a minute?
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the online application is a good idea. Let's just make sure that it works.
Well, right.
Because I'm fresh off yesterday filling out an online application that did not work. And it took me about 10 times longer than it should have to complete the process. And
Yep.
I've seen enough that don't work, so that we just want to make sure it works.
Well, I can talk to the guys in Chatham and see if they're happy with it.
Yeah, perfect. I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure that we don't put it out there and then have people saying it doesn't work, because these applications take a while to fill out.
I will also look into other ways to make links, but those links in the upper left-hand corner, they're very standard for these websites. And I agree, it's a little not obvious.
Chris, again.
Yeah, to Bob's suggestion, for a monthly deal on the website, where are we? We're mid-July, so we've got 2.5 months before the deadline. Might not be a bad idea. I keep looking at you, John, because I'm guessing that you're gonna do it, but I
Well,
don't mean to do that to you, per se. But it might, if we were gonna put something on in some way, it might not be a bad idea to just plug in a reminder that the application process is underway and we're standing by waiting.
Well, we already agreed I'm gonna add a note about application
Yeah,
deadline in
okay,
the
so-
main narrative, so.
It probably takes care of it.
If you like, I can add some note to the effect that we're ready anytime to receive applications, or it can just say.
No, perfect. Exactly.
What did I
We're
just
ready
say?
to receive applications.
Operators are standing by.
Anything to
prizes are being considered for early entrants.
I'm not gonna say it.
All right.
Okay.
And when I make these changes, I will send you a note. And, or, can I just send a note to everybody?
No,
Or is-
you
No,
can't.
okay, I'll
Send it to
you-
me.
I'll send you a note.
Okay.
And they
I
may
can
not
inform
happen all
everybody
at
with a
once.
blast, but we don't wanna be accused of, go ahead, Mary.
To the point where we're ready to receive applications, do we have a rule that we won't vote on any applications until the close of the application process for the calendar year?
That's generally what we've done up
Okay.
until now,
Just wanted to ask.
unless
It
you wanna
hasn't been-
change it.
No, I just did not know the answer to the question, so I wanted to ask.
Vice chair starting to exert her
Right.
authority already.
Not at all. Not at all. She is happy with the way things are run. Thank you very much.
All right, are we set? Are you set, sir?
I am. I have-
Okay.
I
Any
have
other
action
comments?
items.
Other questions, other meetings, or comments about the web?
Go ahead.
Not just, I observed that the library did put a CPC sign out on the corner of Bank Street. You kind of see it going around the corner, but you can't really read it till you're close to it, but,
You mean what do you mean a CPC?
A
sign?
thank-
saying, yeah, saying
see.
that it's
Project.
funded by the CPC
Right.
type sign right on the corner. We had asked them that, so.
That's great. Anything else? Chris?
Just two quick housekeeping things. Did anybody go to the library reception?
I couldn't make it.
I was just curious if anybody ended up going and what it was like. I felt bad I couldn't go, but I couldn't go. The second thing is, in case you didn't see it in the selectmen's notes from their last meeting, next year's town meeting is May 11th, if you want to put it on your calendars. I put it on my calendar today because I saw it in the Chronicle, because this year I was away for the first night. And I could have avoided that had I had it on my calendar. So now it's on my calendar for next year, May 11th.
I'll just. Anything else?
Are we to agenda items?
Yes.
We already know what we talked about tonight, but in addition to that, we send out the invites for the September updates. Now, that once this meeting's over, now I contact everybody with an open balance. And I invite them to give us updates for September. Sounds hard, but
That's correct.
so soon, I mean. Fast.
Anything else? All right. This is not an agended item, and I did not deem that I was going to have a discussion with this board about this, and now I find it necessary, and we will put it on, also on a future agenda, so we can discuss this. I have a request from the town administrator, a request from the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust to transfer the Community Preservation Act funds of $340,000 from Article 42 of May 2019 ATM and of $470,000 pursuant to Article 58 of the 2018 ATM warrant
I think
to the Housing
they were
Authority.
both 18s, 2018s?
20,
Can't be.
I'm sorry. The 340 is the 2019 ATM, and the 470 is the 2018 ATM. Now, we voted this to happen. Town meeting voted this to happen. Carol has given, I've asked Carol to give me an update on the total amounts of money. And she's done that, and some monies have been used for the housing coordinator. So that money has to be deducted from the total amounts that I've received the request for. And if you add it up, it's 800,000 plus. I've had a conversation with the chair of the authority, the trust. I'm not comfortable signing these documents for this amount of money. And the reason I'm not comfortable signing these documents is that this board has a policy in place that after a 3-year, once an article is put before town meeting, is voted by the selectmen, town meeting, us, there's a 3-year period to access that money. That's the policy. If I transfer this money to the Affordable Housing Trust, I'm going to be in violation of that policy. Because once the trust has the money, and if the trust doesn't have anything in the money languages for more than 3 years, we can't get it back. So what I would like to do, and what I'd like your approval to do, is to use admin funds to ask, to request from a trust attorney, a document, a contract with the CPC and the Housing Trust. Mary?
You just said a trust attorney. You mean you want us to get an attorney?
Right, I want the CPC to hire an attorney.
So, can I ask,
Go ahead.
didn't we talk about having everybody sign contracts, and that some we didn't think they'd need to, but others we thought it was necessary?
We had that discussion.
So I thought we were requiring contracts for something like the trust, which is technically a separate party. But I guess it also leads a question, where's the money going? Is it not staying in the town accounts?
Well, this is asking me to sign off as department head
Yeah.
to transfer the money to the trust.
Does that mean that our finance director isn't managing those funds on
I
an
don't know
ongoing
the
basis?
answer to that question.
All right.
Chris?
That would seem to be a good question, David, because once these funding applications are approved at town meeting and by the selectmen and at town meeting, isn't it then the finance director's responsibility to disperse the funds as approved? Why would you have to?
Because we have an existing policy. I've been hammered for 2 years to make sure that that policy was in place. Because we've spent inordinate amount of time. I've spent hundreds of hours, Kathy spent hundreds of hours, and there are others that have spent a lot of hours trying to recover monies that are out there in the land. They were left, they were never accounted for. We drew all that money back in. That policy was put in place to emphasize, so everybody understood that came for an application in front of us. You had 3 years to come up with whatever you choose to do, whatever the application's for, and if there's nothing at the end of that period of time, that money comes back to CPC.
Yeah, that's not.
That's the first issue.
Yeah.
The second issue is, once that money gets transferred from CPC to the trust, CPC has no longer any control over those monies.
But,
Question.
Yes, let me just, I'm not sure I was clear on where I was going. And maybe I don't understand the process, and this would be a good time to make sure I do. But I get the 3-year thing, let's put that aside for the moment. I'm just, the mechanics here, I thought that once all the approvals were in and the money was approved for an entity, that the finance director was the one who dispersed it, so I'm curious as to why, who sent you the letter?
Chris,
But on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust?
on behalf of the trust.
So, but just, who's somebody else we approved? the recreation director, Eric?
Eric Beebe.
He doesn't send you,
He's not an external entity.
oh, so this is considered external, but still, why wouldn't that transfer of funds be between the finance director and the external entity? Why are you in the middle of it? I would go, I mean,
It's a legal question.
So,
If I can.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I think the trust, I think somebody like CDP, I think somebody like Habitat for Humanity, that are technically third parties in their own separate legal entities, separate and apart from the town, should have a contract. And I think it's a really good reason to use some administrative funds for us as community preservation to draft and negotiate a contract, a form of contract for CPC to sign with, again, the trust and really Board of Selectmen as well, because they're a town entity. So I do think that is something that we should do. We've talked about having contracts. I know there are many other communities that have contracts. I personally, in a situation where it's an Eric Beebe and it's a recreation department, or it's a town department head, I don't necessarily think that there will be, maybe there'll be a circumstance where we will think it, but on the average basis, I don't think a department head kind of a project would require something like a contract. I disagree when it comes to the trust. I think the trust, the amount of money that's expended, I think that is, and it is its own legal entity. I think that is certainly an entity that we should have a contract in place with. It makes sense
For example, the town of Yarmouth has a contract,
with the town of Yarmouth.
CPC,
Affordable Housing
with their
Trust.
Affordable Housing Trust. Their department head,
Yeah,
town manager, is the chairman of that trust.
which is the same setup we have.
So I have zero issue with that.
Yeah.
What Mary just described, I think makes lots of sense. 2 quick points on that. One, I thought that anybody who signed and submitted an application to us, I thought there was a term and condition in that application that stipulated the 3-year expiration.
Yes, there is.
All right, now maybe that's not enough, and if it's not enough, that's fine. The second thing is, when we reviewed a few months back various contracts that Jan had sent us that were examples of stuff that had been used in the past, there were a couple of really good examples in there of contracts just like you're describing.
Right.
And so it could be that the work is half done, but using administrative funds to find an outside counsel to make sure it's right makes lots of sense. But I'm still stuck on, why are you in the middle of this? You head the committee, yes.
I'm a caretaker of the funds, apparently. That's what it says to
Have
me.
you ever had
Yes, I've signed off, yes.
You have?
Yes.
so can I just ask a question here because, or make a point or something? It's half a question, half a point. Isn't what we're doing, why we're funding the Affordable Housing Trust just materially and significantly different from what project-based funds are like? That is, project-based funds, you're painting the library. I mean, aside from whether it's an internal or external organization, you want to paint the library, and when it's done, and it costs so much money, and if there's a balance left, it gets returned, and it's reasonable to put a time limit on that. But isn't the point of the Affordable Housing Trust something different from that? It's not a project-based thing. It's not like, at least I didn't think the point was we're going to keep track of exactly what they do with these funds, and at the end of 3 years, if they haven't spent it all on very specific and identifiable projects, then we should be in a position to pull the money back. We're funding a pool of money, helping to fund a pool of money whose intention is to be invested in affordable housing over the years. to me, it's a very different sort of thing. So I mean, maybe there needs to be a contract in place, but that contract needs to reflect that difference. And-
Oh, absolutely, which means that once the contract gets put in place, it could extend the term of the agreement with CPC.
So is the 3-year thing,
It's optional, John. It's at the discretion of the
This board.
committee.
Right.
So it's not once you hit 3 years, you're dead. you
It's
know,
right.
But certainly having it in there eliminates the possibility that someone will have access to a big bank of money and not use it,
Right.
Based on the history.
which in a worst-case scenario could happen. But if there's extenuating circumstances and lots of initiatives going on, and the 3 years come up, and the committee decides that they want to extend the deadline for usage, then it
Thank
would
you.
be within our power to do that.
okay.
Bob?
Oh, Mary's waiting.
No, go
Well,
ahead.
No, I mean, I do think with the contract, you do need a mechanism to recall that money if the committee doesn't spend the money or gets merged at somewhere down the road, they say, oh no, we're gonna move this money to a different organization. I think we should have a reach in to say, oh no, wait a minute, we want that back, and the new committee can come ask us for it.
I think there's language to that effect in the application.
Is it?
I think so.
Mary?
So to both of your points, I think John is right in that it is not a specific project base. And yes, part of giving them money every year is to build up their funds so that they can start doing the lead-in things that they need, that they determine are necessary to develop and add more affordable housing in Harwich. So I agree with that. I guess,
Well, as a board, we voted this.
right, so I think that, so I get that, and I agree with what we've all said. I mean, I don't consider anything a drop-dead 3-year date. You might get to 3 years and they haven't expended any money because or all of the money because they're still doing the groundwork to develop stuff, so, but I do think I really do think the contract is necessary, and I agree, it needs a real lawyer to look at it and to draft it up, to give us audit rights or recall rights or whatever else is necessary to make sure that the money was spent in accordance with whatever we had determined.
Right.
You know, it's a bad example because Brooks Academy Museum is really a town entity, but the same kind of a situation, like if we voted that money needed to get spent first, second, third, it's the same kind of a situation, so.
And just so we all understand, Brooks Academy Museum, it's been structured out now that the town administrator or the assistant town administrator and the engineer are gonna follow that entire process to what the CPC article states. And I won't go any further than that.
Yeah, so if I can just have one follow-up.
Go ahead.
I still have a little bit of a question as far as transferring the money is concerned. I guess I'm still questioning whether that means that the trust is gonna set up their own separate bank accounts and have their own finance director, or whether Carol is gonna set up sub-funds within our account. Do we know the answer to that
I don't have
question?
the answer to that question.
That might be is there a way to find that out?
There is a way to find that
All
out.
right. Just curious,
The
but
finance director won't, I can find that out, yes.
But I just would, I think it's a good idea for us to do a contract and to hire an attorney.
Chris?
That's just,
Notwithstanding that contract and the necessity of it, can somebody, I don't know, maybe Jan can pull the application for the Affordable Housing Trust for the past 2 years and see if that term and condition is in the application? I know I'm pretty sure that we included it in the latest revision of the application for next year. And I thought it was in the applications for the previous years as well, the three-year deadline. Not saying that we wouldn't still need a contract,
Okay.
but I think it's in there.
I have a declaration of the trust here. and I've already read it a couple of times.
Not in there? By declaration of the trust, you mean,
That's the organizational document that set up the trust.
what I mean, what about our application? They would
He's-
have had to submit and sign.
He's talking about our policies in our application.
Yeah.
Do you
What they would
mean
submit
what
it.
was voted at town meeting?
Yes.
The exact wording
Yeah.
of
And the
both those-
applications
The
that-
both those
application that they
articles.
signed when they submitted their request. for
That's
funding.
not, okay.
No, it's two different
So,
things.
yeah.
You want the original, he's
I have the
requesting.
original apps,
He's,
not
we have
with
the,
me here.
So they signed it when they submitted it. They agreed to the terms and conditions in it. I'm just curious as to whether the
Be-
3-year cutoff is in
Can I,
there.
just one point on that. We were asked by multiple town officials and members of the Board of Selectmen to take a leap of faith in that first year and to vote them the money because the trust was still being set up.
Yeah.
And that they were going to structure the trust the way the Yarmouth Trust was set up. And we agreed to vote that money in. So the trust, the actual entity arrived after the fact, which isn't a bad thing.
I see what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? It's not a bad
Yeah,
thing, but
that's
it's
the
now a
warrant.
new,
We don't want the warrant, we
was-
want the applications. That's what I
it
was saying.
was, if you're setting up a corporation, you'd call them the incorporators. If you kind of look at it that way, it was the people before the actual trustees,
Yeah.
and now the trust is actually going to be the one that gets.
That was the
it.
first year. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
the second year, last year,
Yeah.
it might have been, that term and condition might have been in the application that they signed when they submitted it. I think it was there. Because when we were revising it for this year, for the latest
To be
version,
really honest, we've had that 3-year statement for years now.
yeah. so-
But
I'm not
we
saying we don't need a
rewrite it
contract.
every
I'm
year.
just saying it's
Make
in
it a
there.
little
all right,
more-
that's fair enough, but it doesn't include what's in the process of right now.
Yeah.
So,
Can I
what
ask,
I need to know, go ahead, Mary.
what are you looking for from us? Are you
I'm looking for,
looking for permission to
to
use
use
administrative funds?
administrative funds to access,
Then I'd make a motion that we authorize David to reach out and contact one of the municipal attorneys. I know other boards have other municipal counsel, or Copeland and Page, to have somebody draft a standard agreement between the CPC and applicants, third-party applicants, and then perhaps also tailor a version of that to the trust.
Second the motion.
Hold on.
All I said was second the motion.
Just nobody talk, nobody talk. Chris. And maybe tailor that to,
And
that's what you
perhaps-
said.
And perhaps tailor
Okay,
that standard form specifically for an agreement between the CPC and the trust.
and if you can highlight that in the minutes, please. Because there's going to be a request for the minutes.
Clarification?
Go.
So it sounded like you're asking for a contract that's for everybody.
So I,
Yeah.
Would this be narrowed down to just trusts where the money leaves us?
so I'd say that's up to the board. I would typically, if I'm looking at it, I would do a standard, I'd want us to have a standard form contract and then and then something like the trust where they're getting so much money, I would think would be tailored a little bit differently perhaps.
Yeah, I just
But-
think that would be a
You're
much
looking for-
more different contract
Okay, so,
than one that's just for the Brooks Academy to sign, which I think we kind of agreed they don't need to sign it because town people have control over it anyways, but
right, so would you prefer to just use administrative funds to draft a contract specifically for use with the Affordable Housing Trust? Is that what you're
No,
suggesting?
hold- Before you guys get carried away.
Yeah.
These are the questions that the chair needs to ask of the attorneys.
right.
I don't
Okay.
have the answers.
Okay,
I hire people to write these trusts.
so let me rescind my motion and say more along the,
authorize Dave
to authorize
reach
David
out to-
to reach out and engage outside counsel for the purposes of drafting an agreement for CPC and representing us for, I guess, representing us,
We're drafting,
for drafting an agreement for
but I think you want to
CPC with
say.
the trust.
With the trust, okay.
Does that kind of meet your,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
John?
So, one thought I have about this is if you're engaging an attorney to draft an agreement, that we should be a little more flexible about what you're asking the attorney, because it may be that he's investing a bunch, an attorney is investing a bunch of time into drafting an agreement, and part of it should be a standard agreement as well. Not that the standard agreement and the housing trust should be similar, but I think it would be appropriate for Dave to have the whole conversation at the time, as opposed to,
I
unless,
understand.
unless you think that that's just too big a bite to take right now. Since
I
you're
have
the
a-
one who's,
I have a series of those.
okay, what are these?
They're agreements
Okay.
from
Other
different
communities.
areas. One of them's from Copeland and Page.
Oh, you've already, I'm a little bit at sea about what's, this is the Affordable Housing Trust. This is a grant agreement that is not executed or anything,
That's
right?
correct.
It's
It's
just a
not
draft.
That's a draft. And I have two others. That's the former one from Copeland and Page.
And what's the point of it, though? I mean, you've already.
They have a standard
Oh,
agreement that they
just gave you
have.
a standard agreement.
They have a standard agreement that the town uses. I don't want to go in that direction.
Right.
For the Affordable Housing Trust or in general for CPC?
In general for CPC.
Right,
I'm
so
trying to
that's
put
what-
it the best.
We should have, what you're saying, I think, is that we should have an agreement that is tailored to the needs of the CPC, and we also happen to need to address this very specific and acute situation right now where a request is being made and you need legal counsel in order to respond to the request. And I think we should be just enabling you to do what you need to do along those lines, whatever the right motion language is, that's,
Not right.
So let's just make it generic. Let's rescind the last motion. If there was a
You're
second out
exactly
there.
right.
If there's a second out there, let's rescind it.
There was no I think I was a second. I
Yeah.
rescind the
Well,
second.
Chris was the first, on the first one that you did, and then you reworded
We
it.
rescinded that one.
Yeah. We rescinded the first,
We
so
don't
now we're gonna
have a
rescind the second.
We never got
A second on the other one, so,
right, to
okay.
engage an outside counsel for the purposes of drafting an agreement.
So let's just make it, I move that, we authorize
The chair.
David Nixon
The
as chair,
The chair.
the chair of CPC, to engage outside counsel for the purposes of representing Community Preservation Committee.
Well, that pretty much covers it all, doesn't
Sure
it?
does.
For the purposes
Talk about a
of-
broad brush. Wow. But it works.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
It
want
works.
it, if you want to limit it in some way, we could limit it for
No, no,
the
no.
grant agreements.
That's
That's,
fine, because you don't know what road it'll go down with the attorneys.
For the purposes of the committee,
Does the chair want,
I need a second.
before, I'm
finish the-
still finishing this.
Oh, you are going.
Before we go further, just a question. Does the chair want a dollar limit put on that for an initial ask?
there can't be.
Okay.
Attorneys
They charge on an hourly basis.
That's exactly right.
Right,
So-
but I'm saying, you know, we could amend this to authorize up to $5,000 or whatever, and you'd know by the next meeting whether you were gonna need more or not.
I don't want to have my hands tied.
Okay,
But you can't
I'm-
spend
I'm-
more than the 5%, right? Hopefully, it would not be anywhere near
The
that.
committee is going to take a leap of faith. There we go.
Well, do we want to say
I
from
made a
admin
motion.
funds?
I think we
Well,
did.
yeah, it's-
No, you haven't. No, we're starting a whole new motion.
So I said the motion to authorize,
The chair of the
Using-
CPC
chair.
chair to engage outside counsel for the purposes of the committee.
for the purpose of representing the committee.
In external contracts.
Let's just add that.
You're comfortable with that?
External
Yeah,
contracts.
sure.
I don't know.
That's what he
Is
said.
that- Is that,
Isn't that what it is, external contracts?
I think that's all right. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that.
if that becomes limiting, we can talk about it next
Right,
meeting.
all I'm saying is,
We can
the
only
town
expend that much
administrator
funds. We can't
represents the
expend it.
town
You
of
don't want to say
Harwich.
it, though?
He is the
Okay.
chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, which is an extension of the town of Harwich,
It
with
is
him on that
a
as.
separate legal, it is a separate legal entity
But
unto
doesn't he
itself.
have a fiduciary responsibility,
A trustee has a fiduciary responsibility to the trust.
So,
and the town?
yeah, we can fix this.
If he's the
Scratch-
chair?
Scratch what I said and just say,
Fiduciary responsibility, a trustee has a fiduciary
Again, I
responsibility to
can't,
the
I
trust.
don't know the answer.
just say relative to contracts.
Well,
Thank you,
Yeah,
perfect.
thank you.
I accept the amendment.
I second the motion.
And I would recommend we only give David 3 years to spend the money.
Relative to contracts.
It's gonna be a lot less than that, Ms. Grant.
We just need a second.
So I made the
already
motion.
There's a
John
sec,
is
John
seconding.
seconded. Discussion? It's in the minutes.
No, no discussion here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you. I will keep you posted.
Okay.
There'll be an agenda item for next month.
Yeah, would you,
Follow-up.
yep, would you include that, please? All right. Where are we? CPC discussion continued. Can we, based on the hour, can we,
Please.
okay, we'll move that to the next agenda. Next meeting agenda points. John,
Yeah, yes, sir.
go ahead. Do you have anything?
Well, I will update you on whatever I've done in the ensuing month
Okay.
on web stuff. And maybe we can talk about Bob's idea of,
Well, Chris already came up for this meeting.
yeah,
Yeah,
was
what
supposed
John
to-
said he was gonna do.
Well, that's a vicious circle there.
Just keep sending it around the table eventually.
It'll get to, yeah.
I'm just gonna keep ducking.
That's
all.
right.
I'm gonna duck.
Bob,
I'm all set.
Chris,
Just a question, what was the thing we just deferred to the next meeting? CPC?
the,
What was that?
Oh, the
the
Writing a
discussion on the preservation plan,
Writing a plan.
Oh, the plan, okay.
the plan.
can I actually
Interject, go ahead.
make a suggestion that people look at other towns' websites and see their community preservation plans, and I
You're
can,
behind that's already been done.
We
You,
did that before you were on the
before
committee.
you were on the committee. So if you would
Oh,
like,
it-
you can take a look at,
you don't think it's worth reviewing that again?
honestly, I really don't want, at this point, I don't want to deal with the community preservation plan at all until we have a formal plan by the town.
Right.
The
So,
town is in the
and Chris
process
was-
of doing
He
it.
corrected me, he's absolutely right. I pushed for a long time to get this done. Chris was right, it's top down. So let them finish their due diligence. When they get everything done, then we can interject.
Right.
We'll know where they're going.
So other towns have the town planner directly involved in the community preservation committee? And is,
In some capacity, some towns do. Some towns hire their own, well, they split the
Right,
cost
they
of,
contract it
Yeah.
out, yeah. But that's still a top-down thing? You think that's,
I live in the town of Harwich.
okay.
I understand the process here now. It only took me 2 years to figure it out, but that's all right. So,
So we don't want that on the next agenda.
no, we don't. If that's okay with the board.
It's your agenda.
All set? Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.